The Iron Lady of India was a powerful political figure with great influence and impact in her country. In 2001, she was voted Best Indian Prime Minister by India Today. She was also named Woman of the Millennium in a poll by the BBC in 1999. It has been said by the New York Times that she had an almost impossible job of governing the world's most populous nation at the time, a poor and struggling country in desperate need of stable government. Unfortunately, due to radical changes in her leadership and strife in politics, Mrs. Gandhi did not die a political hero. Her political prowess and legacy was sullied by corruption and her desire to control the people of India. In our lives, we may have the opportunity to exert influence over the beliefs and behaviors of others. We are wise to not let this power cloud our moral judgment or change the people we are. In my study of Indira Gandhi, I have learned that Voltaire's assertion that with great power comes great responsibility is true. Today, we will look at the rise, fall, and assassination of India's first and only female prime minister. Indira Priyadarshini Nehru was born November 19, 1917 in Allahabad, India. She was the only child of her parents, and both her father and grandfather were deeply steeped in politics. Her grandfather worked for Mohandas Gandhi in the independent movement. Indira went to Somerville College in Oxford but did not graduate. Her father, Jawaharlal Nehru, was the first Prime Minister of India, and after leaving college, she became his right-hand assistant, and this is where her political influence began. She married Feroz Gandhi in 1942, even though her father did not like him. She served on the second Prime Minister Shastri's cabinet as a Minister of Information and Broadcasting, and when Shastri died suddenly in 1966, Indira Gandhi became Prime Minister. Referred to as strong-willed and autocratic by the New York Times, Mrs. Gandhi served as Prime Minister for 3 consecutive terms from 1966 to 1977, and then a 4th term in 1980 until her assassination in 1984. According to Biography.com, her early years in leadership, Prime Minister Gandhi was widely hailed as a hero. Even though her personality was aloof and sometimes unpredictable, she was well-liked and brought about great changes that advanced the economic and social positions of many of India's people. One of her most famous quotes reflects her dedication to hard work. There are 2 kinds of people, those who do the work and those who take the credit. Try to be in the first group. There is less competition there. Prime Minister Gandhi did great things for her people and her country during her first 2 terms as Prime Minister. Biography.com lists her leading the Green Revolution, which increased crop distribution and food exports, and this helped the impoverished Sikhs of the Punjab region. Also, during civil unrest in Pakistan, many of East Pakistani refugees flooded India. The Prime Minister and the Pakistani President met, and they signed the Shimla Agreement, which led to the creation of the nation of Bangladesh. Also during her time, Prime Minister Gandhi authorized the development of a nuclear weapons program. Sometimes the greatest among us fall the hardest. The struggle for power and control led the Prime Minister to make radical leadership decisions. The New York Times paints a vivid picture of the downfall of Gandhi's leadership. On August 15, 1975, which was the anniversary of India's independence, Gandhi said, "Sometimes bitter medicine has to be administered to the patient only to cure him." Bitterness was exactly what lay ahead for India. The Prime Minister's policies seemed to be stripping the Indians of their independence. For example, in 1976, Gandhi pushed for compulsory sterilization and population control. And not surprisingly, she lost the election in 1977, which she had managed to postpone for nearly 2 years. The High Court charged her with 2 counts of electoral corruption, and the opposition pushed her to resign. In her response, she said there was no question of resignation and arrested many opposition leaders. She also proclaimed a state of emergency, and in the first 2 months, over 50,000 Indians were imprisoned. Gandhi also severely censored the press, and civil rights and habeas corpus were suspended. During this time, she rewrote laws to fit her agendas, and the opposition shrank away. In spite of her radicalism, a 1979 survey showed her to be the single most popular political figure in India's major cities. Again, through a divide-and-conquer approach, she won the election in 1980. Tragedy befell her also in 1980 when her son, Sanjay, was killed in a plane crash. According to Biography.com, the Prime Minister's fourth term was no less tumultuous than her first. Prime Minister Gandhi had fought to quell an outbreak of the Sikh terrorists in the northern state of Punjab. It came to a bloody climax when Prime Minister Gandhi sent Indian troops to storm the Golden Temple, the holiest shrine of the Sikh religion. After 36 hours of fierce fighting between the militant Sikhs and the soldiers, 450 were found dead. On October 31st, 1984, as Prime Minister Gandhi was walking to an interview, one of her trusted bodyguards, a Sikh, pulled out a .38 revolver and shot her point blank. Another bodyguard, also a Sikh, pulled out an automatic weapon and fired 30 shots into her. Indira Gandhi died on the way to the hospital. The life and death of Indira Gandhi was anything but ordinary. Governing India seemed impossible to many. The country was in turmoil, government was fractured, and religious unrest was reaching a boiling point. Today, we learned how Mrs. Gandhi's success in leadership turned into a ferocious power struggle and ultimately a gruesome death. In the end, despite the controversy of her leadership, we can learn much about the responsibility of leadership. History is a great teacher. In Mrs. Gandhi's own words, "There are moments in history when brooding tragedy and its dark shadows can be lightened by the recalling of great moments in the past." Thank you for listening today, and I hope that we can all learn from the successes and failures of those who have led before us.